Alright, so here we are, tucked up in the corner of the shop, and we got our Vulcan welding cart or space heater holder. And it is a couple days after Valentine's Day, Mopar Monday. I think it's the 16th, midweek here, and it's been in the 70s, man. It's been awesome, like 77 the other day. I think today topped out like 74, 75. And if you don't hear it, there's a really strong north wind outside that you'll probably hear howling in a little bit. And it's going to be 30 tomorrow, so that is classic Texas Panhandle in February weather. So without further ado, this doesn't do me much good without the space heater, so let's jump around and check out what we got. Let's see, we've got cabinets, 2x4s, one that's warped. We've got some cold air, creeper, pallet, car cover, and a space heater. And if you haven't figured it out, and if the intentions in the previous video when we took a look at the Vulcan welding cart weren't obvious enough, this is actually what's going on there. There's no space heater. Sadly, tomorrow when I come out to the shop, I'm literally going to be freezing because I don't have a space heater, aside from the beloved brown and gold 70s or 80s unit that we have. Pretty good for your ankles. That's about it. But yeah, this is the PrimeWeld TIG225. If you recall on the channel, I mentioned, hey, we're going to need a TIG welder, throw some ideas at me. I ran some polls. Overwhelmingly, what you, the viewers of the channel, said was to get the Vulcan. And I was leaning that way. The price on the Vulcan, sadly, went up as that was happening. And it was just one of those deals. I always try. I value first-hand information the most. Whether that's in the form of a text review or a video review. And the problem you have with companies like PrimeWeld, YesWeld, sort of like your, budget machines, if you will, not kind of high-end, industrial production type of machines, but just, hey, I'm going to try this out since I need to do some simple stuff. I might get good at it, might like it, might turn it into a side gig, and then we can upgrade at that point in time. That's kind of where I'm falling in with this TIG welding stuff. And I'm going to tell you right now what I ran into, and what I think the vast majority of you will run into pretty much anytime you see one of these on YouTube. It's somebody that got the machine for free. It's somebody that got the machine sent out to them. It's somebody that got a significant discount because they apparently solicited themselves in their video production for a percentage or a discount or some freebie or promotion crud. Sales code where if you buy the machine because of this video and you enter my code, that person gets X money. It's kickbacks. That to me severely diminishes anything. I don't care how knowledgeable the person is. I don't care how novice the person is. If there's anything like that associated with it, it straight up kills it for me. So at that point in time, I sort of have to step back and you have to look at like text reviews, right? And then the problem is there's so many people that will see something, on YouTube or social media, and they think, oh, this person knows what they're doing, I'm going to do what they did. And they may be doing that, they've jumped on several other smaller items, like hand tools, for example, or they have similar taste, and they're like, well, that's what this guy did, it must be decent. It clouds it. And then, like the text reviews you see are all kind of tainted in that same manner. And then you have to factor in with text reviews. The one benefit that like a YouTube video has over a text review, if I were to start my own company tomorrow and I just had offshore welders and threw my stickers on them, what have you, I could sit there myself, a secretary if I hired one, my tech or engineering guy if I hire him, and it's not all just me. I can write a lot of reviews over the course of an 8-hour workday, right? So you kind of have to take those with a grain of salt, and with a video you've at least got like something to look at. You can make your own assessments. Ultimately what I did, because you had it with PrimeWeld, you had it with AHP, everything in that category, Harbor Freight, it's like they were sent out. And there's not very many people that will fight the hand that feeds them, right? If this is a deal where, if PrimeWeld says, hey, we're going to send this, or you solicit it from them, and they generate some sales, or people are responding positively to the content put out, then guess what? It becomes in their best interest to send you a MIG welder, or an updated MIG welder. Or, hey, try this out type of deal. Same thing, you know, with Yes Welder, Harbor Freight. And there's like a handful of people that seem to get every welder known to man. And it's not that they buy them to test them. It's like a passion of theirs to see what's the best, like me and screwdrivers, right? It's just they're shipped out, and it's like free product placement for these companies that otherwise couldn't relate to a big group of people. And I tell you this for good reason. Many of the videos and content that you find with these types of machines is from channels way smaller than mine. I've been around, that's the other thing with my channel. I'm like OG on YouTube. I've been around, whether you know it or appreciate it or care about it, for over 10 years now. All right, you can go back, check it, verify it yourself. It's really over 11 years, I believe, at this point in time. But there's a lot of channels that are like new and really small. I'm talking like crippling, painful in-laws, relatives, and a couple of friends are your like subscriber base small. And when they're getting things for free, it's like, I truly, maybe I did this wrong, maybe I screwed myself out of some hard-earned cash, but to me, based on what I've seen, I could have solicited my services and gotten a free machine from probably, basically just go down the pipeline. You know what I mean? If I pick PrimeWeld, I think it's going to be the best, and they say, no, screw off, buddy, buy the machine. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to go solicit someone else and try to get a free welder and say it's better than yours. And that's, I think, what a lot of people do, which is super unfortunate, because there's so many people that don't really like filter through that, right? They're just, you kind of go in blindly or naively and you think, well, you know, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. Because so many times the problem you have with a machine and this like golden under $1,000, under $1,500-1,200, the people that are buying these, sometimes it's like an ex-welder hobbyist type of deal, but so many times it's someone brand new, somebody that wants to learn, somebody that wants to teach themselves. And it totally clouds everything. So what I did, for the benefit of myself, to find out, you know, what's true and what's not true, and for everyone that was in my position a few months ago, I didn't say anything. I just bought this. You know, I could have been a woman in Manhattan. I could have been a cow in Montana. I paid for this thing. They don't know who I am. They don't know what I do. They have no way of knowing I was going to make or not make videos on it or produce content or weld crud that will wind up, you know, on YouTube or, you know, pictures of it all over forums and the internet. Totally incognito, totally under the radar. And I did that, like I said, for myself and for you. So absolutely nothing. And this is maybe one of the, because I watched a lot of videos back around Black Friday and prior to that when I was debating this stuff. And sometimes people don't say it and it's in text, like a disclaimer is in the description. I 100% bought this. I paid $7.25, and you're sitting there and you're thinking like, whoa, liar. You know, this thing's $8.25. Yes, it is, but on Black Friday, it's $100 off. So I am that thrifty. Needed this ahead of time, patiently waited. Also with PrimeWeld, these do seem to legitimately, I kind of followed a couple of ebb and flow cycles where you'd see them make a post that, hey, we're getting more machines in, act fast. They're in stock, and then like a couple days, sometimes it was like 2 days. Other times they stick around more. I don't know if that's sales. I don't know if it's the quantity that came in, but something stacks up where they legitimately do sell out of these machines very frequently. So the stars aligned. They actually came in stock. I snagged one for $7.25. That's what I paid. Currently, they are still $8.25. I predict those prices could rise. Like everything in the way the world is going right now, which I don't agree with, but that's another story. And the reason I'm spending all this time at the start is twofold. Number one, this is 100% legit. I'm out $7.25 for this thing. A little bit more because I did actually pop for the cover. It's one of those things, right? I think it was like, what, $29, $30, something fairly reasonable, I thought. And I'm also curious if it's in there because, spoiler alert, this has been here since like right after Black Friday. Like they shipped it out. I'd say I had it within like 7 to 10 days. Don't really remember now here in February. But it's just been parked here between the truck and the charger. And now that I have the stand and the stand's assembled, I figured like, hey, let's get this welder on there. We're able to roll it around. It's not going to be in my way. And I can get the box out of my way. The box actually, I think, is something we might wind up keeping. One of the selling points with PrimeWeld, and again, you kind of have to go off what you see and hear because you don't know until you have first-hand experience, is it's claimed that they have a really great warranty. They've replaced machines, no question. There's so many good comments I feel like and they vary from like, hey, you know, I had a fire and the machine went down, you know, in a tragedy, and they sent me a new one, to, hey, I got a lemon and they replaced it immediately, no questions asked. That type of stuff where it varies so much, and if things are written too well, I don't believe it, because I've read enough reviews to know that people aren't that functional with their grammar, you know. Similarly, you know, it's not like the exact same broken English that you'd expect. So there starts to be some viability at some point in time. So trying again to be the eternal optimist and give the benefit of the doubt as much as I can within reason, seem to believe that they will stand behind the machine. I hope I don't have to find out. I hope that I have this thing 3 years, it works great, and I have zero issues with it. I hope that it then replicates that for like another 4 or 5 years past that. That's what quality stuff does. My little MIG welder over there, it's a Lincoln. I've had that thing since like, I don't know, man, early 2000s, mid 2000s, somewhere in there. It's been fine. At work, it's a terrible example. We've got ancient stuff that just keeps on rolling because it was built well. So Lindy's, yeah, it's one of those things. You have people fresh out of, you know, their welding class, and they show up and they're like, what is this? I've never seen it. You know, it's got the cranks like a giant Frankenstein machine. But I can't tell you, I'm going to straight up be honest with you. I've also never TIG welded. I've MIG welded. I've never stick welded, oddly enough. I can MIG decent. I'm not going to sit here and claim I'm great. Not going to claim I'm terrible. I can do it. And it looks presentable sometimes, right? Most importantly, it's functional. But, TIG welding, never in my life have I done it. It's one of those things I'm going to teach myself. People have differing opinions on that. I do believe in this price range, that's what most people are thinking. They have the same mindset I do. Maybe some of you have more free time and you can get, you know, hooked up at a community college. Maybe you've got a buddy, you know, that's going to teach you after hours type of deal. Maybe there's like a local fab shop in town and they do seminars in hopes that somebody like is really good and they can hire you on the side in like 2 weeks type of a deal. But for me, it's like, it's trial and error. That's how I do a lot of things in life, and it's worked out okay so far, so we're going to continue on. And like I said, I think that's where a ton of you will fall as well. So my intentions, obviously, you know, automotive type of stuff. There are some other things I can build and have done in the past just to tie in with and just have a prettier weld, essentially. That's it. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm not going to tell you some exotic, you know, crazy stuff. It's like exhaust intakes, you know, stuff like that, basically in a nutshell. So some of you, it'll be like an artsy, crafty thing. That's fine. But I want to get across whatever I do, however long it takes me. I mean, this machine could be great, and I could very well be the problem for a long time. Eventually, if I get enough free time and seat time with this thing, and it's not a piece of junk, we ought to start doing some decent and respectable TIG welding as the end goal. And at that point in time, I can actually give you a much better review of the actual machine as it pertains to its functionality. Right now, this is just to cover, I'm an average person, just like you, never TIG welded. I've watched the videos, I've read the reviews, this is what I picked. Okay, had Harbor Freight not have jacked the Vulcan up a considerable amount, it was a very strong contender. Had they had a big sale on it, it's also liable to have come here. Reason being, I can get to and from a Harbor Freight relatively quickly. I deal with welding suppliers all the time at work. There's more and more stores popping up that are weld supply stores. They've got all their house brands and stuff. Yes, I know, Lincoln and Miller, reputable, they've been around. I also deal with a lot of people that are honest with me and they tell me new machines suck, and I don't think they're going to tell me that, you know, to keep what you've got running as long as you can, because I've tried to, you know, approach them about upgrading several times. And you got to remember, this is not me going to run this machine, you know, for 8-hour days, 5-6 days a week. There's no 12-hour shifts. Where we're just straight up welding. This is like hobbyist use, DIY weekend stuff. If somebody comes in and they see something I've done on a car and they say, hey, you know, I want you to make me an intake like that, then yeah, you know, at that point in time, it's still not going to be up to commercial, industrial, you know, basically production standards, if you will. It's just one guy screwing around in his shop in his free time. if this turns out to be something that I love, if I get really good at it, if I'm doing crazy exhaust stuff for people and they love it, and there's more and more and more people, and I can turn this into like something that's like, whoa, you know, I suddenly don't have weekends or free time anymore because I'm doing this all the time. And I want to do that and save up money and buy more old cars, whatever it might be. Yeah, maybe at that point in time in the future, we do upgrade to a more reputable, you know, well-known machine. But truth be told, I'm loyal. And if this is what I start with and it treats me well and it doesn't break, I'm going to run this thing until I can't anymore. So that's where we are. This is going to be a long, long journey. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think I'll put this in the video, you know, very close to the top. There's no welding. There's no demo in this. I don't currently have an argon cylinder, so that's sort of a holdup. But I will say that I do plan to stick weld a little too. Good timing with the north wind out there, because all the time, particularly early spring, March if you will, I have sections of fence go down and the 90 brackets break. Like, I'm talking 80 mile an hour straight line winds. And the corner posts, galvanized 90-degree brackets, they break. And stick welding is going to be awesome for that. So with that said, I just kind of want to showcase what's inside the box, get it out, get it on the cart, and that's really all you have to look forward to right now, is seeing it on the cart. In terms of me, the average person that's also never TIG welded like many of you, that stuff will come in time. But we're going to go about this, cut her open, get it out of the box, get the box moved. Mainly, I just want space here is kind of part of the deal. So we're going to do that, but I'm 100% straight up with people. I'm not making jack off of this. I spent $725 plus the cover. I think freight was included, which is cool. It arrived in this condition. There's a few dings on the box. Obviously, that's kind of to be expected when you know, I think it was UPS, if I'm not mistaken. Nothing catastrophic, no like holes, no forks through it, anything like that. I want to say it's maybe 80-ish pounds shipping weight. I've obviously pulled off the labels from it, but it's in decent shape as is, and we just hope that that curtails into what is in the box. So let's go ahead, open her up, and I'll walk you through that. All right, so Cutix did its thing. We are in the box, and I gotta say, it is impressive. I've always been of the mindset the packaging often dictates what's inside. Obviously, there's some German tools that are fantastic, and they come in junk. Total beat down recycled cardboard, plastic bags sometimes. For the most part, though, anything you buy, the better it's packed, the better the contents. If people are producing cheap junk and they don't care about, you know, protecting it because it's cheap junk, you're not going to have stuff like this. So this is a good sign. We're going to come in this thing together. This is a pretty thick owner's manual. I'm not expecting it to be that thick. We've got some corner guards here on some cardboard. These are plastic. You rarely ever like see that. Let's go ahead. I'm not sure if I can do this one-handed. All right, very tight. I want to highlight that. This box fits nicely. There's literally just this one sidewall of cardboard in there that was keeping this in place. So I'm going to go ahead and try to extract the other box. There's no way I can do that one-handed. We'll take a look at what's inside of those. We'll evaluate this, and we will be back. Alright, so check this out. This was the top box. It's got a number 1 on it. This is the next box, which was the bottom box. It's got a number 2 on it. So, again, the fact that this was packed tight, the fact that it's numbered, it's leading me to believe that this is well thought out. Again, boding very well. I want to say this is the cover. I'm going to go ahead. I would struggle to do that one-handed. So we'll open her up and take a look after this. All right, cool deal. So box 1 here, again, this is part of the reason I'm opening this up finally. It's, again, been here since shortly after Black Friday. And I was thinking, you know, I don't know where the cover would be. I thought that might come separately. Maybe it's tucked away in there. It is, as you can see here, that is your part number, TIG225 ACDCP. We'll get that thing. We'll showcase it when we have the welder out. Underneath it, though, we've actually got some other stuff. So we'll come in, check this out. We have got the torch. This is a CK Worldwide. There is your part number. Again, as someone that has never TIG welded, I can't sit here and tell you that this is a great torch, or it's my favorite, or it's better. That would be a blatant lie. For all we know, I might like cheaper torches better. But what I do know is this is typically something that you would upgrade a machine with. It's something that's going to be like a little higher end, if you will. And we'll take a look at it. And again, initial impressions here, this is pretty dadgum nice stuff. There's a look at the torch itself. There's a look at our plugs. And that's about, again, coming from somebody that this is all brand new to. It's kind of the same thing if you were to open it up, right? So I don't sit there and, again, try to taint things or pretend I'm something I'm not. But right here, we sort of got our conversion. That's one of the other selling points with this machine. You can't tell because of the saran wrap, but that plastic is covering just your standard, you know, wall plug-in, like a surge protector, angle grinder, whatever it might be. So this is a dual voltage machine. That serves you very well in the event that you don't have, you know, a power supply. You've got just standard, you know, 110 in your shop, or you're going to do this in your house garage type of a thing. So that's a big deal. Right here, I guess this is our push button. And again, if I had to be straight up honest with you, being someone that's never TIG welded, the thing I'm the most worried about is the foot pedal. And I don't mean the quality of the foot pedal. I just mean as somebody that can weld, you know, I can MIG weld. That's totally foreign to me. I'm used to, like, I stand up when I weld. I haven't ever had to think about, like, my foot. I don't know if that's going to be weird or, like, throw off my balance. I don't know if I need to be seated. It's one of those things. I'm just going to have to figure it out. Now, one thing, if I did have to nitpick, you do get consumables here. Obviously, that's what this is. I wouldn't mind seeing more. You know, as somebody new to this, like many of you will be, you're going to screw this stuff up. It's going to happen, right? People that are experienced and are just trying this out for kicks and giggles, obviously doesn't apply to you. But for everyone else, like, I would suggest you just go out and pick up some basics, right? Once you figure out what torch you're going to run, or if you like the torch, stack the consumables. Just buy them if you're practicing, if you're trying to just execute, you know, learn how to, you know, run your beads, whatever. Experiment with different materials, different thicknesses, dialing in the settings on the welder. As someone green to it, you're going to screw a lot of stuff up. This will get you going, but I don't know how long it's going to keep you going if you kind of follow what I'm saying. But with that bag, we have reached the end of box number 1, and I am now going to take us into box number 2. All right, so box number 2, here we are. It looks like we have a face shield. Again, this is sort of a classic. I guess the shade is, okay, it must be in the bubble wrap, I guess I was gonna say. Not really sure how that's gonna work. Also on that front, I have no idea how you would hold, this isn't a hood, this isn't something that goes around your, you know, face with a strap over your skull. This is like a cheap, it comes with all the MIG welders back in the day when I was looking at those. I get it with a MIG welder. I don't know how you would hold that in TIG weld, but maybe I'm missing something. I don't know, but it is nice. It's at least there. You have something. You can, like, clip it to your head. You could rig up a strap. You could mount it to the table, and you just look through it, and it would be super awkward but functional. Yeah, invest in a hood. That should be something that you definitely do. I can't really hold that against them, but it is nice that it's there. We've got some gas cables here. This is kind of neat that that's crimped. That's something. Typically, again, lower end items, it's just going to be like clamp style. Speaking of clamps, nice segue here. This is going to be our ground clamp. We've got the connector. Hopefully you can kind of get a feel for that. I'm not going to take it out of the bag just yet. Got a braided copper in there like we do for an automotive ground. It's nice that it's copper. I'll give it that. Right here, this would be, I guess, for me teaching myself to stick weld. So this may very well go on the bottom shelf of the Vulcan for quite some time. Maybe I'll put it in the toolbox, not sure. Yeah, again, I have never stick welded. I know that's kind of weird. You'd think that's where people would start. Not me. I started MIG welding, so I do look forward to actually, obviously I want to invest the majority of my time in TIG, however long it takes me to figure that out. But stick welding, like I said, there's like a few things here and there where I kind of think it would be handy. So cool deal, it comes with it. Is that good quality? Is it junk? I don't know. I have nothing and no past experience. We do have stick welders at work, but they've sat there and basically they come out when we have to do like thick cast iron, and that's it. And I don't believe I have ever done that. So MIG only for me. Now right here, I'm assuming this will be our regulator. It's probably why it's in a box. This is the foot pedal. Now, one of the things when you actually try to, deduce reality from fiction, people hated the foot switch, foot pedal that came with this machine. Apparently, PrimeWeld took that to heart and they upgraded it. I'm not going to take this out. I'm not going to tell you how great it is. I'm not going to tell you how bad it is compared to my preferred brand. I've never used one, and it's honestly, like I said, one of the scariest aspects of me teaching myself to TIG weld. It's totally foreign to me. The moving the filler wire up and down, kind of running the torch back and forth, getting the feel for looking at a cup and stuff. I can kind of process that in my head. This is the thing, I understand it. You press down more, you pull up less type of a deal, you find the sweet spot. It's just really weird to think of doing that while I'm focusing on welding. And again, this comes from someone with a MIG perspective, so it'll be interesting, I'll just say that. Right here, typically, I will tell you, I kind of like Victor. This sort of is looking like Harbor Freightish, looking cage type. Let's see here. And again, I do, obviously we have experience with regulators. I have to replace them every once in a while, get them recalibrated. The guy that was really good at that has retired and everyone else sucks, so you pretty much replace them now. But yeah, this, it's brass. The brass seems fine. The gauge face itself, kind of a little, like I said, get Harbor Freight vibes. But then again, I've got some really high-end fuel pressure gauges, obviously. Different dial face, different pressure calibrations. That kind of seem cheap too and are actually good. So we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, that's what it would look like. Again, be careful with this one, right? It was your... It's not money you want to spend again. You'd rather keep that, like 60 to 100 bucks in your pocket, I would assume. And that's it for box 2. So now I'm going to get these little boxes out of here. Going to pick up what fell, which was our dual outlet plug, and we'll take a look at the machine itself, which I assume is in here because it's heavy and the stuff wouldn't add up to that. So it'll be nice to finally see this thing since it's just been hanging out in the shop for a couple of months. Okay, so I'm assuming you see cardboard and you see something shiny. The shiny is not what I dropped. That's actually a metal edge guard. I get really high value stuff in at work, and it's extremely rare that I see a metal edge guard, so that is, not gonna lie, pretty impressive. This was just a little divider, basically the thing to take up the gap that makes it super hard for you to get those two boxes out. I also will tell you, I guess based on the space that was available in the top box, number 1, that had the torch, if you're like me and you got the cover, that's where it should be. So if you come in and you have top box number 1 out and your cover's not there and you ordered it, again, that's not included, that's something you buy extra, that's where you'd know you have a problem. Now right here, this is also kind of crazy. I'm not sure, yeah, you can actually tell. If you see this grayscale foam, right? Well, it goes all the way. And typically, again, I'm somebody that's just unloaded a ton of toolboxes recently. You got your styrofoam, that's 90 degrees in the corner, and this long piece, the short piece, and they break, in transit and everything. This is super protected, super insulated, and what I'm gonna do, I'm not sure if it's taped maybe. I think I'm gonna need to shimmy this thing over, and that would be terrible things for you to have to sit and watch. So what I will do, I also don't want to tear one of the cars up, so I'm going to pull this thing out. However I have to do it, I'll tell you, and then we'll have the machine. I'll probably showcase that, and then we'll get the machine out and try to wrap this thing up. Alright, so easy to do things with 2 hands, imagine that. This is just not conducive for the tripod with all the funky angles and everything. However, take a look at this. You've got your cardboard filler over there as well. That is the handle of the machine. The machine is in a plastic bag, which is kind of taped up and sealed. Now, this is the money shot. That right there is what is protecting the welder, sort of the sidewall and the top end. All those ribs there are excess. They're solely made to conform over and around the handle, which... that's impressive. Again, if you go back in the history of the channel, I'm one of those dorks. I'm one of those nerds. I ship things a lot. I open and receive packages a ton. I appreciate these little details. This is impressive. Obviously now I've got to drag this thing out of here, so I'm going to make that happen. Alright, so this is actually a good testament to the fitment when you have this happen. Grab the handle. It's not near as heavy as I thought it would be. Lifted her out, and it is wedged in that styrofoam clamshell really nice. By this measure, I was thinking it was just kind of more of like a base, maybe a little upright, coming up the sidewall of the machine. It's probably like a 60-40 split. I'd say you've got like 40% from the bottom, and then off over here you'd have like your 60%. So what I'm gonna do now is just get this thing pulled out, probably put it on the cart, and we'll take a look at it. You thought we were gonna be looking at the welder, didn't you? Well, the welder's gone. The welder is on the cart, but I have to highlight this. For those curious, those metal corners that we saw down there, they are present on that side of the box. The main thing though is look what I've done. I've taken the styrofoam clamshell, I've put it back in the box. The two little boxes, whether you just pull all the accessories out, plug them in instantly, which I assume is what most of you are going to do, throw them in toolboxes, what have you, keep those two boxes. I know they're empty, there's nothing in them. Put them here. Do that for storage. This is a box you will want to keep at least for a little while. When you buy this machine, you've got the 3 years. One of the things I don't think I mentioned, they supposedly pay freight both ways. You know, a lot of times they get something in and they determine it's defective, they ship it back to you type of a deal. This is something where it's like they would create a shipping label for you. You drop it off, FedEx, UPS, whatever it may be, and it goes back on their dime, which is great. However, keep the box at least for 3 years. You know, if you feel like it's good, you got your money worth after 9 months of, you know, continuous use, trash it if you want to. But as much as I hate stockpiling cardboard or boxes, number one, this is a nice box for anything. But number two, if you do have to send this back for whatever reason, flakes out after 2 years and 7 months, junk after the second day or the first fire, this is the way to ship it back to them. So if nothing else, keep the clamshell. But if you keep the clamshell, I feel like you just as well keep the box. My advice, recreate the factory packaging. So without dragging this out too much longer, let's go actually look at the welder. Oh yeah, fits like a glove. So if you're curious, if you're kind of like me, this is not something that you're like going to use for your livelihood. It's sort of like something you're interested in pursuing, see if you're any good at it, want to learn it, master a new skill. The Vulcan welding cart, it fits sweet. So this is the front of the machine. Downsides to the PrimeWeld. Well, if you're looking at other machines, even in this price range, you'll often see large digital screens. Some of them are digital touch screens. And you think, man, this looks archaic. I'll give you that. I have the same initial assessment. We live in a digital world. Everything this should be like a tablet by now, you see. And rightfully so. It's a valid criticism. But I'm also someone that knows what happens with touchscreens. I know what happens to them over time. They can be just fine one day, and you come in and you've got a dead zone, and you can't go up anymore. You can't change the values or the settings. Also, if you look at all these knobs, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, 10, 12. There's 12 knobs. And let's just assume that these are important enough that they have their own standalone. You've got 10 knobs. On a digital screen, if we have these exact same settings, if you will, 10 of them, you don't just get to come in and like adjust your start current. You've got to cycle through to get to it. And then if you want to change the welding current, or you want to come in and you want to change your post and pre-flow, you have to cycle through those menus. This to me, even though yes, seems archaic versus full-on digital touchscreen, I prefer it. This is one of the selling points to me. I will say, I wish that there was like, just like when your amps are coming in, your input here, I wish that there was a dial, you know, and you could like depress the button and see what the reading is, right? This is something I'll just have to play with it. Again, I don't think I've mentioned sort of one of the important things. Have a MIG welder. Why do I need this? Well, spool guns for aluminum, yeah, they're kind of hit and miss, right? It also requires a different gas mix than what I run when I MIG. My thoughts there, I want a TIG. I want to do aluminum right. I want a, you know, AC/DC machine. I also want to do stainless. There's a chance I want to get into like more exotic stuff, right? And that's where we just leave the MIG behind and we go full-blown TIG. So that's sort of my backstory. I want to teach myself a new skill, and I have a reason to do so because I want to utilize it. But in terms of all the interfaces and everything, I totally get the critiques on this. And I would say this the same, if Vulcan had this, if, you know, brand B and C also had this versus a touchscreen, I would say, hey, touchscreen looks great, maybe it lasts, maybe it doesn't. I prefer analog inputs. You know, it's just one of those deals. So sometimes simple is a little bit better. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know what all of these are going to do. I'm not going to waste our time. Again, that's not this video. There are people that are established welders. They've been TIG welding for a career, for a profession. They've retired, they whatever, made a video career on YouTube out of it. That is not me. That's why I disclose that at the start of the video. I am like you. I'm a regular person that does not TIG weld. And so it would be foolish and, you know, just waste time to come in and try to replicate and deduce all of this stuff. We could read the manual, I could watch videos, I could explain it as best I could, maybe even more eloquently than some of the people that actually know what it means. But that's just a fool's errand at this point in time. So these are all of our connections up here. You've got your gas, you've got your control, that's all that's labeled. And then obviously the side is going to look exactly the same. And I don't know if this is going to work or not. I do not want to hit the charger. Here we go. Just spin it around, right? So one of the knocks on a lot of these machines is going to be the volume, the decibel level, if you will. I have heard this run on videos and it is loud. We will, again, over time, you'll see this thing run, you'll see me working with it, you'll see me learning with it. That's when all of that will come and go. But, you've got your breaker switch, you've got another gas input, you've got your main power here, you know, your high fancy stuff. And then I guess that would be like, you know, auxiliary inputs. And that's about it. I mean, you know, from layman's terms of, hey, I'm buying myself a TIG welder and going to teach myself to do it. That's what you need to know. The most important thing, though, I felt the need to step up to TIG. Why? To do aluminum, to do stainless, to possibly branch off into more exotic materials, particularly, in my case, aluminum and stainless. Not something I can do with what I currently have access to here. Similarly, I went with this machine for the analog input. I went with this machine for the price point. I went with this machine for primarily positive reviews. Like, I'd say overwhelmingly positive, but again, I'm somebody that, can we, you know, like, frame this and know that this is all legit? Can we know that this is not rigged and not typed by an employee, something like that? No, but there's so much of it and it's so vast and diverse. You know, they would go to a lot of trouble to frame that. And the biggest thing, though, is when you're on the fence with something, if I got this and I loved it, I might tell a few friends. If somebody, you know, brings it up in conversation, like, hey, you know, I'm wanting to put turbos on my car. I want to do, you know, some cool, you know, header fab type of stuff. Get some V-bands underneath the car so I can pull it all off, service it. You know, do you know anybody that TIG welds? What should I get? And then, yeah, it comes up naturally. But for the most part, it's always like I say with Taco Bell. Tons and tons of people ate it today. Some people, it was okay. Nothing to write home about. Some people, it was like, man, this is actually really good. Why haven't I been coming here? Man, you know, I'm sleeping on this place. And then there's like that one person, you know, that has a terrible experience. And out of all those people, the person most likely to leave a review, you know, to go out of their way to, you know, evaluate a product, whatever it may be, is the person that had a bad experience. And when you don't see that, or when people have a bad experience and it's like, I plug this thing in, it's a smoke show in the worst possible way, and I'm like, what a buzzkill, got this for myself for Christmas, $725 down the drain, thank goodness I got it on sale. What a junk pile. You know, should have just gone with Harbor Freight. Should have just saved my money, you know, and bought a Miller for 5 times the price, whatever it may be. When you see stuff like that, it's usually like, man, I thought this was junk. I went ahead and, you know, emailed them. They said, hey, we're sending you a new machine. You'll see that a few times because, again, that's something you run into, you know, with like offshore stuff. But if you stand behind it, it sort of alleviates some of that. So first fire of this machine, we might be one of those people with a lemon. At that point in time, we'll evaluate this. I'm so like stacked with videos right now. I don't know that this is going to be released and live to the public viewing before I've had a bad experience with this. So they're still not going to have a clue who I am. It really shouldn't ever matter. But the fact of the matter is, when you investigate this like I did, you go through the usual avenues, you know, forum posts, YouTube, everything like that. There's just so overwhelmingly many where it was like partially sponsored or sent out for free. And like I said, very few people can sustain that credibility. And so I do this, I shelled out them. I'm pretty confident. I don't know that I could have gotten the machine for free, but I think if I would have asked, we probably could have worked out a deal. But this is a deal where I want to know, you know, like, is this a good machine or is it junk? And I'm going to find out on my own, for better or for worse. And if it's great, this will be a validation for everything you see from big channels and little random channels that'll pop up before me because their channels are recent and not a decade, you know, plus old like mine. And if it's awesome, you're going to see this and you're not going to know it's awesome for a while because I'll probably suck. You know, anytime you want to do something, if you put enough effort into it, you'll do it. But it's something you got to be persistent and stick with, right? That's one of my firm beliefs in life. So my hope is if the machine's not a lemon and it's functional, if I get enough free time, we're going to be able to crank out some cool stuff. Might not be the best. It might look really good and be porous. It might be porous, but you know, look like trash. I don't know. We're going to figure it all out over time. And again, I always have timestamps. I always have links. I'll link to this, but I don't make a dime off of it. There's no tracking, no cookie, no code for me, nothing. Same with Alpha Gloves. I do that. You get 20%, but I get nothing from that. Like, I'm straight up honest with everything. This $725 out of my pocket. If you want this and you can wait, I would hold off. I would follow them, you know, on whatever your preferred platform is and wait for sales. If you don't want to do social media, just go to their website, you know, every day, every week, Friday, Saturday night, whatever, and monitor sales. And when it drops down to, I'd say, 100 off, pull the trigger. That's exactly what I did. I waited for Black Friday. And so far, I'm very impressed with the packaging. I'm impressed with the machine. I'm impressed with what it came with. But I also have to put that caveat, like, I don't really have stuff to compare a TIG torch to. I've never used or held or handled a TIG torch. I've never had one of these foot pedals over here, right? So it'll be a learning experience. You'll have to check back. But like I said, I'm filming this right now. It's 2 days after Valentine's Day. You may not see this video until like April, something crazy like that. And hopefully by then, it's usually when work gets busy, you know, springtime. But hopefully I've had enough time to play around with this thing, kind of get decent at it, at least accomplish some of my immediate things that really need to be done. That I'm one of those people, if I can do it myself, why would I pay someone? Even though I could have paid someone like $150 versus buying a machine for $725, you know. But that's the way I operate, and I'm sure many of you are the exact same. So yeah, I'm excited. Initial impressions, fantastic. Like I said, we're not going to plug it in. We're not going to know if it's a smoke show and fries. But if I have issues with this thing, I expect to have them early. And we'll keep you posted on that. If it performs flawlessly, it'll just be the welds look terrible because I don't know what I'm doing, and you'll have to bear with me. And we'll take it from there. But yeah, it's a good-looking little machine. Not super heavy. I don't know, maybe 40 to 60 pounds. I don't have a scale out here, sadly. I can weigh something of this size. Jeez. I will tell, I've got the, I'm a man of my word. That thing is boxed up. I've got the 2 little boxes. All the accessories are over here, some of them falling down. But that's it. That's all I've got for you. And it's one of those deals where I'm legit. I'm doing this as a service for you and kind of just for myself, if you will. So everything I could deduce from what I wanted to do, from what I believed online and took with a grain of salt, this was the machine for me. It falls at a really good price point, especially when you get the $100 off, like we cashed in on, $725. The capabilities, the addition to the shop, in addition to the old Lincoln, you know, 175 we've got over there, I think it was a good fit for me. Like I said, zero experience, none whatsoever. So this is going to be a learning curve. We're going to suck for, I don't know how long. Maybe we'll figure it out fast. Maybe we'll get really good with like steel, and then we'll suck with stainless and aluminum for a long time. It's going to be a curve. I'll keep you posted, and hopefully, you know, like check back in a year or something, and we're cranking out some really cool stuff with this thing. So maybe I like it so well, if I buy one for work, that's when you really know, like, hey, this guy's not lying. Like, he brought that thing in. So But the experience with PrimeWeld themselves so far has been fine. It was in stock. I'd kind of, stalked their website a little bit, shipped out to me, arrived in great condition, and we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So I was, like I said, the Vulcan, especially based on the poll results I ran. And the thing is, even with that, I didn't have like a lot of you saying like, I bought the Vulcan, it's amazing. I feel like it's, oh, hey, this guy gets stuff from Harbor Freight, he should get the Vulcan. And so it's one of those deals. It's just, if you had this price point, like the 750 to 1,000, and Lincoln or Miller was sitting there at like 1,800, I don't ask questions. I save my money and I get that. When we start jumping, from like $725 to 3,000, 5,000, this isn't my livelihood. This isn't something I'm going to use daily, at least not initially. I'm not willing to invest that kind of coin in something. Like, that's a lot of money to me. $3,000, $5,000. Again, if that's what I did, if that's what I wanted to do, if I was hell-bent on making myself, a stainless aluminum titanium welder that gets paid and has production or one-off jobs that everyone comes to, I'll do it. But for what I need, this should suffice. So, like I said, we'll roll with it, see what happens. If you're new to the channel, this is the way I do stuff. We talk about it. We go through the whys, the how comes, the what ifs, if you will. And this is legitimately, after sifting through all the junk you did, plus this video now, I picked PrimeWeld, and for the reasons I mentioned. So we'll see how she goes, but I've got like 8 texts that have come in here. My phone's about dead. I'm going to check those out. I'm going to try to get some other stuff done here in the shop because it's going to be cold tomorrow, and currently it's not that bad, just windy. So PrimeWeld 225, I guess I do need to get the cover on her for you. So I'm going to open that cover up somewhere, sitting on the charger. I'll get the cover on. That'll protect it from the strong north wind and all the dust that's going to come with it. And we'll call it a night in terms of this video. Alright, so there she is. The cover is actually really nice. This side, you've got the PrimeWeld logo, no pocket. I say no pocket because this side here, I'm assuming this is how you would orient it. You've got a little flap. That way, if you leave, which I assume most people would, everything connected like short-term storage, you would have the flap there. And then this side, we've actually got a pocket. So I assume, you would put, I don't know if it would hold the torch, maybe some other things. Maybe it's just for convenience. But yeah, that's what she looks like. And like I said, I think I've kind of covered everything. It's just what I picked, why I picked it, and what I hope to do and accomplish with it. So as I said, everything else, the meaningful, like, wow, this machine's great or it's total junk, stay away. All the reviews were lies. All the reviews were honest. That assessment will come over time. But right now, it was packaged very, very well. It looks like a solid machine, and until we plug it in and actually get some seat time, that's all I can honestly tell you. So far, so good. As you can see, I've kind of thrown everything under there. The stinger for the stick welding, I think I'll put that in the toolbox, but it is out of the box. I'm going to throw that up on the pallet rack, get it out of my floor, which is a huge accomplishment. And the other thing of interest for some of you, the TIG 225 fits like a glove on this little Vulcan cart. So it's a bit bigger than like my little MIG welder, so I'm not sure that the cheaper one would fit it, but this, very nice. So I'm going to quit rambling. Like I said, this is what I did, why I did it, and how it could possibly benefit you. So here we are in February. You'll probably see an update here a couple of months, spring, summertime, something like that, and we'll see how we're liking this thing. So stay tuned. If you enjoyed the video, I hope it helped you out. Again, the end goal here, and I cover it at the start of the video, in the description, probably in the title. This isn't like, ooh, the PrimeWeld, let's pull it out of the box in 20 seconds and weld for 15 minutes. No, this is more for, hey, I'm interested in teaching myself to TIG weld type stuff, because that's what I fell into. I felt like there's a decent void when you factor in that people got machines for free. So here we are taking it on, and we'll see what we think. So stay tuned, but the website is LoneStarMopars.com. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all 3 at Lone Star Mopars. If you enjoyed the video, if you were in this boat and you've already, traveled this road, swam up the river, whatever you want to phrase it as, what was your experience? Are you elated you went with the PrimeWeld? Do you wish you would have done something different? Has the machine worked, but you're still learning? Do you feel like you would have saved up and bought a different machine? Say what it is and why. This is to help the people that fall into the category of I want to teach myself to TIG weld, essentially. So with that said, you know the drill. If you like this, if you want to be posted on updates, consider subscribing. Otherwise, you can just check back periodically. But I'm looking super forward to the learning process. Like I said, I know I'm going to suck. I know it's going to take time, but I'm one of those people that I enjoy that. I enjoy looking at my first terrible TIG weld and then comparing it to what I look like, at X amount of time down the line. So we'll figure it out. We'll make it happen, but hopefully this helps you out. And with that said, have yourself a fantastic weekend. I'll catch you back here for more action from the shop.